What we would be discussing today is why to publish, where to publish, what to publish, and what is the publication planning. And in publication planning, so how do you plan? So it is so this part is divided into two sections. One is development of a publication plan, and second is how do we implement it. Then we've also kind of captured some of the recent trends in publications. So as the yeah, things are changing. So COVID itself, had a lot of impact on the way science is being communicated. And these trends have been around for quite some time, but now they are, kind of becoming more like mandatory, and journals are asking for it. So certain trends we will take up, and in the end, we have a question and answer session. So now, why
Where
do we
we
publish? So publication is a way. It's actually a platform where your research finally culminates. So you have an idea, you conduct a research, and if you are not publishing it, then the research is incomplete if you are not publishing it and publication means that your research is in a public domain where people who want to know about your research, who want to know more about the science which you have done, they will benefit from it. So some of the benefits of published scientific data, if you see on the slide, so it can influence public health decision making because these publications form basis of policies, papers by government organizations, by reimbursement, by insurance companies, by various like WHO. So you have vaccination plans to be made and implementation to be done. So they have everything is science backed, and it is also known as evidence based medicine. So we talk of EBM a lot. It is virtually everlasting in the public domain. So once something is published, it's there. So you have a DOI of a publication, and whatever work you've done, unless it is retracted or unless it is kind of the journal does not exist or something like that, until then, that it's going to be there, always. All these publications, what are there, they influence outcomes of meta-analysis, of systematic reviews, because when we do a systematic review, when we do a meta-analysis, we do literature search and we try to find what information is already available and kind of build up upon that. It also influences clinical practice. So we talk of consensus recommendations. There are clinical practice guidelines. There are expert opinions. So even if as a doctor I have a certain way of treating, or there's certain practice which which I feel benefits my patients more, it has to be backed up by evidence. The evidence is the science which is already published, and it also guides future research. So, what we are doing today, what are the gaps which are there, and where more research is needed. So, all this we will come to know by going through the current publications what we have on that topic. Now, some of the important GPP3 guidelines which we highlighted. So, this is a paper which is already available, and then you can see read the paper in detail, but what we have done is we have just captured a couple of points which we thought were important, and you should and highlighted them here. So publication of both positive and negative result. So this is something, so if a study is conducted, it should be published whether the results are coming positive or negative. The result should not impact the decision to publish the paper. Second is timely presentation of the data. So you have to identify the congresses for early presentation of data. So if it is original research, and what you can do is you can present the data in the conference first and then work on the manuscript and publish in a journal later on. Prioritizing the publication of primary endpoint data and objectives over secondary. So if a study is conducted and you have a lot of result, primary endpoints and secondary endpoints, you can always prioritize the primary endpoint and the objectives to publish earlier on. Ensure the background information is published before the primary data. Now, if there was a new technique or a new method, what your study, what your research has taken up, so then that should be published somewhere, sometime before it, so that you can give a reference to it. In fact, also like this is also true for questionnaires, for various parameters where we are assessing the quality of life, and or maybe some diagnostic tests where we are assessing the diagnostic tests. So even these all these all this data also should be published before you actually publish the primary data of the research. Identify areas of new publications. So there may be a study which is more of a global magnitude, and then subgroup analysis or postdoc analysis or pooled analysis. So you can have multiple publications from that study. Avoid premature release of results and duplicate publication. This is something which you should be careful about. And data sharing is now with all the clinical trial disclosure guidelines coming up, where there is a lot of stress on disclosing the data when we are using patient population for conducting research. So full access to the relevant study data. The data can be in the form of study protocol, statistical analysis plan, statistical report, clinical study report, and anonymized patient level data to the authors. So all the authors who are there, who are working on that paper, they should have access to everything. In fact, even the journals have data sharing plans and data sharing guidelines which have come up. They are not mandatory now, but they definitely, it's a suggestion from their side that it should be included. What is the data sharing statement and what is the data sharing plan of your research?
Here I have summarized just few of them. But if you open any kind of journal, okay, then you will find that apart from these are talking about the results. It's talking about original research article where you are reporting your randomized controlled trial or observational studies or diagnostic studies, okay, or it may be a case reports, case series, or you want to work as a review, which can be again a targeted literature review or a narrative review or a systematic review or do some kind of meta analysis. But apart from them, from the style of writing, if I have to look at it, then there may be something which a manuscript, like which forms an imbrad structure. It can be a commentary, it can be a letter to an editor, okay, it can be an editorial. So your publication, your results can go in any of these formats, not necessarily only as a very straightforward manuscript that is going to any journal. That depends upon what exactly you are wanting to publish, what is the objective of that publication, what it is going to tell the audience. So and what are the contents of it. So accordingly we decide of what will be the length of that particular publication, and whether it will be published as a manuscript, as a little research article, or as a part of some systematic review or part of some meta analysis, or you want to do just a commentary and finish it off, or you want to do an editorial and just stop it at that particular point. So these are the different types of publications. So all this, so what you are going to publish is going, that decision is going to be based on your publication plan, and that publication plan is based on all the involvement of all these stakeholders, which are going to give you inputs of what kind of literature or what kind of literature that the clinicians are demanding and that you would want to publish.
Open access is a journal where the person who's accessing it, who wants to access the article, does not have to pay anything. So online journals can be open access or can be subscription based. And there are preprints which are being there is lot of increase in the preprint. So what are preprints? Now preprints are the articles are not peer reviewed yet. So research has been conducted in, say, one of the institutes or one of the hospitals, especially in COVID. The preprint was something which really came up, and lot of people uploaded their articles. So there are dedicated preprint servers where you upload your article after the research is conducted, and people can visit it, can read your research, give their comments. So it is a kind of informal peer review also what you are getting, and you're also sharing your research. And once your article ultimately gets submitted in a manuscript, so this preprint can also be it can link to the preprint version also. So this is another thing which there is a lot of increase. Then there are plain language summaries for publication. So after the publication is completed and submitted, so there are many journals which are asking for it as voluntary, whether you would want to submit. And plain language summary is a summary of that research or of that paper what you have written, in a language which a layman can also understand the research and the science behind it. So it is majorly, it is for people, for patients who want to know that how the clinical trial has impacted, what results are coming, and more, in a language in which it is easily understandable by the patients and by the ultimate, consumers of our drugs. Taking this patient association to a next level, so there are a lot of, initiatives and activities what are being done now, where the partnership with patients, it is being started from very initial stages. So in fact, when we develop a study design for a clinical study, so patients are being called that time, and they're being asked for their opinion and for their recommendations. So when we are developing a protocol, the patient's point is taken care of. When we are submitting a result, again the lay summaries are being prepared. So in a nutshell, if I combine these 2 points, I would say the communication and the research what we are doing now has to be patient centric. So when we start a research, we have to think that it is ultimately the patients who are going to have an impact, and they are the ones who would be whose health would be improved. So we have to keep that in our mind. Once the study is completed, and we have a study and we have a research which we are sharing on various platforms, so that the results of that study also need to be communicated to patients in a simple way. Then the other trend which is coming is automated authoring. So a lot of automated authoring has already been kind of streamlined for the regulatory writing. This is more from the medical writers perspective that I wanted to discuss here, that there are a lot of tools which are artificial intelligence driven tools, and there is natural language processing which is being integrated in medical writing, so that some of the mundane tasks like formatting of a document, or maybe literature search, so some of the activities, obviously it is not everything of a publication that can be automated, but yes, definitely couple of activities which are very time consuming and which require which is very labor intense, so those can be automated. And then overall the medical writers and authors would be concentrating and focusing more on the science and more on the content part of it, rather than tasks like, if suppose your article got accepted in one journal, rejected in one journal, and you want to reformat it, so there are tools which are coming up, which this can be done in an automatic way. So this will help the writers in that way.